The Girl Who Painted the Ocean. Chapter 1. The Quiet Village. In a small coastal village, nestled between rolling hills and the vast expanse of the ocean, there lived a girl named Leela. Her family, fishermen for generations, lived in a weathered cottage perched at the edge of the cliffs. The salty sea breeze always smelled like adventure and mystery, and the sound of the waves crashing against the rocks became the lullaby of Lila's childhood. Lila, however, was not like the other children in the village. While they ran along the shore, chasing crabs and playing hide and seek in the dunes, Lila was drawn to the quiet solitude of the beach. She would sit for hours, her bare feet sinking into the sand, gazing out at the horizon where the sky kissed the sea. The ocean fascinated her. It was vast, wild, and beautiful beyond words. But she often found that words failed to capture its true essence. One day, while walking along the cliffs, Leela found an old, dusty easel abandoned in the tall grass. It was battered and forgotten, but something about it called to her. She carried it back to her cottage and began to paint, not knowing what she was doing, but instinctively knowing that she needed to try. Her first attempts were simple blues and greens smudged together on the canvas. She was learning, trying to put the ocean into colors and shapes that her heart could understand. Chapter 2. The First Brushstroke. Lila's parents, though hardworking and consumed by their duties as fishermen, noticed the easel in the corner of the cottage. Her mother, Maris, always supportive, encouraged her daughter's budding interest. "Your father and I are out at sea, but it's good to see you finding your own way," she said, her voice soft yet filled with pride. At night, after the family had shared a simple meal, Leela would retreat to her small room. The faint glow of the kerosene lamp illuminating her canvas. She painted, not to recreate the ocean, but to capture the way it made her feel. She painted the waves crashing against the cliffs in violent strokes, the calm of the water in gentle blends, and the play of sunlight dancing on the ripples. Her technique grew, and with each painting, she felt closer to the ocean. The colors became more vivid, the brushstrokes more deliberate, and the scenes more intricate. Still, she felt as though something was missing. She needed to understand the ocean on a deeper level, to grasp its true nature. Chapter 3. The Mysterious Stranger. One summer evening, a stranger arrived in the village. He was a painter and artist from the city who had heard whispers of Lila's growing talent. His name was Elias, a middle-aged man with graying hair and a coat that seemed too fancy for the village's rustic charm. He was immediately struck by Lila's paintings, their intensity and honesty. Elias had spent years studying the ocean from afar, but he had never captured its true spirit. He saw something in Lila's work, a raw emotion that spoke of an understanding he had not yet grasped. Elias sought out Lila and found her sitting by the edge of the cliffs, staring out at the ocean as usual. He approached her carefully, not wanting to startle her, asked if she would consider showing him her paintings. "I've been painting the ocean for years, but nothing ever feels right," Elias confessed. "You seem to understand something about it. Would you teach me?" Lila looked at him, confused. How could she teach someone who had far more experience than she did? But there was something about Elias's earnestness that made her want to share her thoughts. She agreed, and over the course of the next few weeks, they spent hours together, Elias showing her techniques, and Lila sharing her feelings about the ocean. She explained how she felt the waves had a language of their own, how the tides seemed to mirror emotions, and how the horizon was both a boundary and an invitation. Elias was intrigued, but he also noticed how deeply connected Lila was to the ocean in ways he had never experienced. He couldn't paint the ocean like she did. He couldn't capture the way it whispered secrets to her. Chapter 4: The Storm. One evening, a fierce storm rolled in from the sea. The wind howled, the waves grew monstrous, and the skies turned black. Lila watched from the safety of her cottage as the storm raged. The ocean seemed alive, violent, and untamable. She had never seen it like this before. The raw power of it shook her to the core. Elias, who had stayed the night in the village, was caught by surprise. The storm was too strong for him to return to the city, so he sought shelter at Lila's cottage. They sat in silence, watching as the storm ravaged the coast. Lila's heart raced as she felt an overwhelming need to capture what she was witnessing, the untamed force of nature. Without a word, Lila grabbed her easel, prepared a blank canvas, and began to paint furiously. The thunder rumbled in the distance, the wind battered the windows, but Lila was lost in the storm's fury. She painted as if her life depended on it, her brushstrokes wild and erratic, mirroring the ocean's ferocity. Elias watched in awe as she worked. He had never seen such intensity. Lila was painting not just what she saw, but what she felt, the fear, the awe, and the power that the storm held. It was as if the ocean had granted her a vision, and she was finally able to put it into form. Chapter 5: The Ocean's Gift. The storm passed by dawn, leaving behind a battered coastline and a sense of stillness. The village was quiet, save for the soft lapping of waves against the shore. Leela stood back from her painting, breathless, her hands trembling from the rush of creation. Elias stepped forward, his eyes wide with astonishment. The painting was unlike anything he had ever seen. The ocean was not just a series of waves or a view of the horizon. It was alive, pulsing with energy, as if the ocean itself was reaching out from the canvas. It was raw, untamed, and beautiful. "You've done it," Elias whispered. "You've captured the ocean's soul." Leela smiled softly, but there was a sadness in her eyes. "I think the ocean gave me this gift," she said. "It's always been with me, but I had to learn to listen." From that day forward, Lila's work changed. The village began to take notice, and soon people from distant towns came to see the girl who painted the ocean. Her paintings were displayed in galleries, her talent recognized far beyond the shores of her small village. But Leela never stopped listening to the ocean. Each painting was a dialogue with the sea, sometimes calm, sometimes violent, but always profound. She had found her purpose, not just to paint the ocean, but to understand it in all its moods and to share its beauty with the world. Chapter 6: A Journey Beyond. As the years passed, Lila's fame as an artist grew. She was invited to travel, to paint in places far from her home. Yet, no matter where she went, the ocean always called to her. She traveled to distant coasts, capturing the vastness of the world's oceans, but she never forgot the one she had grown up with. One day, when Leela was older, she returned to the village where it all began. She stood by the cliffs, gazing at the ocean once more. The sea had changed in ways she couldn't explain, but it had also stayed the same, eternal and constant. Leela smiled, feeling a deep peace wash over her. She had painted the ocean, but the ocean had also painted her. She was no longer just the girl who painted the ocean, she was part of it, a living testament to its beauty and mystery. And with that, she knew that the ocean's story, just like hers, would never truly end. The end.